Recording in progress.
Today I will share one video of JK, what is necessary to allow a sustained clarity. After that, Harshad sir will comment and take over the meeting. Is the sound coming? Then sir. Harshad sir, was the sound coming or not?
Sound not coming.
Okay, one more. Is it coming now, sir?
There are moments of awareness in which there is great clarity and fear, division, and the experience or absence. But the moments are brief. What is necessary to allow a sustained clarity, intensity, and the wholeness of being? There are moments of awareness in which there is great clarity and fear, division, and the experiences are absent. But the moments are brief. What is necessary to allow a sustained clarity, intensity, and the wholeness of being? Whom are you asking this question? This is apparently a serious question. It looks serious. Whom are you asking? And you want a reply from somebody. The somebody is the speaker here for the moment. If the speaker doesn't satisfy the answer, you trot off to somebody else. And if that somebody else isn't good enough, you go off to somebody else. You keep this going. And that means, doesn't it, we depend on others to tell us what to do, what to think, how to find clarity, sanity, a wholeness of life. Always, apparently, we depend on somebody. We never look into this question and ask ourselves and see if we can, for ourselves, totally independent of others. Find out if it is possible to be absolutely unconfused, to be absolutely clear, not momentarily, not occasionally when you have nothing else to do, but is it possible? Not the continuity of clarity. You understand? Well, suppose one is clear for a moment, and that clarity for a second banishes away fear, experience and all that. Then that memory of that clarity is not the fact of clarity. Right? I wonder if you see me. Suppose I'm walking in the woods, not in California, here, too strong, the sun. Suppose one is walking among the woods and listen to the birds and to the spotted lights and the beauty of the foliage, and for a moment there is absolute clarity of, and that clarity has left an imprint on the brain. Said, oh, how clear it was. Then one wants that clarity to continue. Don't we? Like pleasure, you want it to continue. The continuity is the movement of memory, right? Which is more, I must go into all right. It involves time, doesn't it? Anything that continues must have time, implication of time. And time will not allow clarity. It is the freedom from time that's clarity. Let's go into this again, if we may. Say, for example, one wants security, psychologically. And one, for a few seconds or few days, one has this feeling of absolutely being safe, protected, solidly secure. Then that disappears after a few days. But the memory of that feeling remains. And we want to continue that which has happened 2 days ago. Right? This is what we're all quoting. That is, the duration of an experience which has finished. And the memory of it, we want. The memory wants a continuity of that thing which has happened, right? So if we could look at this question, time, by the watch, by the sunset and sunrise, time as day and night, time of year and so on. That is, there is time. And thought is also time. Right? We're following this. Time is a movement of thought from the past to the present and the future, which is a movement of time. This movement has its own continuity. Right? Are we together following this? And the brain, which has evolved through time, says continuity is essential. Because it, you understand, for it to continue, it is essential. Physically, biologically, it is necessary. But psychologically, it wants also to continue. So, the brain becomes confused when there is no continuity. I follow you on this. Right? Are we together somewhat in this? And one questions whether there is psychological continuity at all. You understand my question? We are questioning it, I am not stating. Is there psychological continuity at all? That is, a moments of clarity which banishes, puts aside all fear, all problems and all the travail of life, it happens in a moment. And the brain says, it must continue. Because it only thinks in terms of time, a continuity. You understand? Biologically it is necessary to continue day after day. Right? Same house, same food, same clothes, same roof over the head. Psychologically also, we want in relationship security to continue. Right? Are you following? Is there in relationship security at all? Which is a duration of long period of time. When there is the demand for that, there is conflict. I wonder if you understand this. Oh no. Relationship, as it's very important, it's a tremendously important thing in life, relationship. One cannot possibly exist in this world without relationship. Whether you are a monk, a sannyasi, a wanderer, you're always related to the past or to a person or to a concept of the future. It isn't just merely physical relationship. As a relationship is very seriously important in life, there are moments in which relationship has great depth, silence, and a sense of tremendous well-being. Don't you know? The speaker hasn't to go through all this, but he will go through this. And that those moments of deep sense of fullness, wholeness, is registered in the is recorded in the brain, and the function of the brain is to record and keep it going. And so the memory begins to play an important part. So one questions whether there is security at all in relationship. You understand my question? We want it. We think it is absolutely necessary, but is there? Please ask yourself. Security means permanency. And is there anything in life permanent? Death is always there, but let's leave death alone for the moment. Is there anything permanent in life? We want to have something permanent. Apparently, religious people say God is permanent. That's a marvelous invention, but has very little meaning. So we are seeking in relationship security and permanency. That very concept, and please listen to this for a minute, that very concept of demanding security and permanency is translated as attachment. Right? So there is a deep attachment to another. It may be for a month, for a week, or 50 years. And during this state of attachment, there is all the conflict of jealousy, suspicion, fear, gain and loss. You know all this, don't you? So the demand in relationship to have a sense of permanent continuity in which there is security leads to attachment and all the complexity of attachment. If one sees that, perceives the fact of that, you understand? Perceiving it, as you perceive the tree, and you don't, unless you're blind, you don't go against it, knock yourself. So if you see this fact that the demand for in relationship permanency and security, which inevitably leads to a great deal of conflict, then that very perception burns away the feeling, the demand for security. Is this clear, this question? That the moment when we think in terms of time, a sense of continuity, then intensity, clarity, and the feeling of wholeness disappears. I wonder if you'll be capturing all this. You have listened to this. Is it all nonsense? So what the devil are you talking about? Or is it sanity, reason, logical? And if I may most respectfully ask, if you see this very clearly, in fact, that we do demand in our life, in our daily living, psychologically, a sense of continuity, a sense of security, it must inevitably bring conflict. Right? Do we see this, perceive this fact? And we are saying, if you perceive the truth of this, that very perception burns away the demand for security and permanency. Therefore, then what is our relationship with each other? Do you understand? Do you understand my question? Suppose the speaker or you have not this sense of security and permanency. That doesn't mean anything. Suppose. Then what is relationship? You understand? What is my wife and my husband? Or girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever it is. You please answer, think it out, let's work it out. What is one's relationship with another, intimate or otherwise? Is there just what, a gap? Or when there is no permanency, demand for permanency and security with all its complexity, is it possible a new awakening, a new sense of what is love? Answer my question. Permanency and attachment with all its pain and pleasure and anxiety and if the absence of that entirely, deeply, profoundly, the other is like a flower that's blooming. Right? Is this possible? Is this possible when you hear all this? Is it possible in your daily life? Love is not thought, desire, sensation. Love is totally a different quality. And that is totally absent when the other, security and all the rest of that, is the demand of every human being.
Okay. May I start?
Harshad sir, you can continue.
Yeah, okay. Uh, Good evening, friends. Today, I'm hearing my own echo. There's something wrong.
No, we are not hearing any other echo.
Okay, all right. Okay, now it is. Now it is. Oh, no, again. Yeah. The question asks, what is necessary to allow a sustained clarity? It seems that the questioner has gone through some beautiful experience, but it was very momentary experience, and then it went away, this experience, and the questioner is asking whether it is possible to have this kind of clarity or wholeness or silent observation. Is it possible, a kind of a continuity of such an experience? And what is necessary for that? And Krishnaji is saying, why are you asking that questions to me if the question is very, very important for you, then you will be silent probably and find out by your own observation. So what generally happens that when we have a very beautiful experience of clarity, and the memory of that remains, but Krishnaji says that that memory of clarity or a beautiful experience is not the real. And in that, we have the desire to bring back that experience. And so we imagine that experience and try to bring it into the present, what happened in the past. And then if we do it very often, initially it may be creating a kind of a pleasure of bringing into memory something which happened. But if we do it more often, then it loses its beauty because it is not something which happens by itself without asking for such clarity. And the real experience or real clarity, it happens when we are not seeking such clarity. It happens when we are fully involved in looking, listening, learning, in whatever we are doing. It can happen when we are looking at a tree and our mind stops. And then there is a very clear seeing, and there is no sense of the observer doesn't exist. And such a moment do come in our life. But then again, when we come back to our daily life of relationship or the work which we have to do, that clarity is lost. So it comes on and off, this kind of experience. And the questioner wants a kind of a continuity of such clarity. And Krishnaji is saying that there is nothing permanent in our life. And then Krishnaji comes from such a beautiful experience of clarity, comes to some experience in relationship, a beautiful experience. And then we get attached to somebody, and then there's a lot of pleasure involved. in thinking about the person or meeting that person. But then again, it doesn't remain continuous. There will be again conflict in relationship, and because attachment leads to conflict, and this attachment leads to jealousy, anger, conflict, fear, and all that happens. So from that clarity, beautiful experience of no observer, no sense of me, Krishnaji comes to relationship and then asks, what is that relationship in which there are no conflicts, no fear, no anger, but such thing will not be continuous because there is no continuity in about anything in our life. There is nothing permanent. So Krishnaji, what in his statement says, freedom from time is clarity. So when there is no time, there is a real sense of beauty, love, all that exists. And is there psychological security in relationship? Krishnaji is asking. And all these questions Krishnaji is asking, it seems that the answer is very clear to all of us that there is nothing is permanent in our life. Beautiful moments, they come and they go away, and then we want it back. But as long as we want it back, it doesn't come. Only when we are not seeking such beautiful experiences and we are fully engrossed in looking, listening, then something may happen by itself. If our mind stops by itself, it could be while listening to Krishnamurti, or it could be while reading a book of Krishnamurti, or it could be by looking at a tree or a flower or a human being. So such experiences we do have all. And the question is whether can this go on in our daily life of relationship? And that is a very good question.
Sir, you have muted yourself.
Oh, yeah, okay. Somebody was trying to call me. So there are beautiful. I am listening to my. Okay. Yeah, I'm listening. Listening to my own voice. Echo is coming.
1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, I will go on. Even if now it's come. So in commentaries on living, second series, there are 3 beautiful articles. And one article in the second series is valuing an experience. And it is about a professor and a diplomat who comes to Krishnaji to discuss about what he saw. He had a vision of Buddha while there was a discussion going on with his friends about communism and Catholic religion. And suddenly, this professor began to see the image of Buddha. And then this professor went out, and then he saw that the image of Buddha went ahead of him. And then after some time, he came back to the same room, and again he saw the image of Buddha. And this experience, which happened by itself, because he was not trying to imagine Buddha when it happened, but then later on, he began to imagine by closing his eyes, seeing the same figure he saw. And it went on for a few days, and slowly the intensity of that image faded, and he came to Krishnamurti to discuss how to bring back that sense of vision of Buddha which he had. And Krishnaji says that no matter how much you try to bring that image of Buddha consciously, it will not come because it came to you by itself and you are not trying for that, it happened. But now you are trying to bring back and it doesn't come. So the real experience, if it is a genuine mystical experience, it happens by itself. It is not by imagining something. And similarly, there is one young businessman. There is another article called An Experience of Bliss. And it is about a young businessman who comes to Krishnaji because that young businessman, one morning, he came out from his house and he began to feel kind of lightness in his body. He felt that there was something new happening within him in his way of looking. And then he passed by a garden of flowers. And then that flowers looked so amazingly alive to him as if they were radiating some kind of beauty. And then he went to a park, and then those trees which he looked, it was very amazing the way. And then he began to hear some kind of music. Actually, there was no music, but he was experiencing all this. And then after 2 hours, he went back to his house. And for 2 days, this sense of uh, beauty or a mystical experience remained. And then he came back to his normal life. And then it was a torture for him to come back from the beautiful way of living to coming to the daily life of relationship with conflicts with people. And so he came to Krishnaji to discuss how to get back that beautiful experience which he had. And again, Krishnaji said, it came to you uninvited. Now you are living with the dead memory of it. Greed, even for this kind of experience, it breeds conflict and sorrow. So Krishnaji has said this in 1950s, all this thing. And there's another article in the same commentaries on living, second series, is Cleans of the Past, and is about a man, an artist, and he suddenly feels something newness, and all that knowledge and memory was gone for few hours, and then he was in a different state altogether, and then that experience went away and he wanted to get it back. So he came to Krishnaji to discuss how to get it back, that beautiful experience. So Krishnaji talks about freedom from the memory of experience. And now you are seeking, Krishnaji says, and which is bringing more conflict. Because what is, and conflict is between what is and what should be. Because you want that experience to be repeated, and that experience which you repeat in your memory, it becomes a pleasure. And then that pleasure also goes away and it brings pain, conflict between what is and what should be. So very good question, very good articles in commentaries on living is especially very, very important for people who have gone through very beautiful experiences, but they go away and then they want it back and they don't get it. So it seems to me that if we really desire to live with that kind of newness or freshness, we have to come to a direct perception of what is happening in the present. And here in this talk, Krishna says, perception burns away the demand for security or continuity. So finally, it comes back to living in the present, in the daily life of relationship, and not living with the dead memory of the past. Okay, I have finished. Thank you. Dinesh ji, you can speak.
Again, are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Is it clear, sir? No echo?
No.
Because I am again getting some echo.
1 minute.
I think, Modak sir, at your end something is there, right? Anyway, again, very interesting dialogue or monologue. And I want to address the issue from a different direction. On today's talk, my question is, substance clarity is what? Naturally, in worldly matters, there is no question of substance clarity, as one can not be expert of all the matters and he has to take the help of others. So in worldly matters, there is no question of substance clarity. So what we are talking of some great psychological moments of awareness in which there is a great clarity and in which fear, division and experiences are absent. Here point to be noted that clarity is in the purview of intellect. Fear comes under emotions and feelings. Division is shown by senses and cognizance is taken by the intellect. Experience comes under any one or all the data sensed by the brain. So it is very clear from the question that questioner has not reached the dimension of non-duality and still moving in the horizontal plane of polarities, because he is asking a question which is coming from intellect. Of course, it is related to fear, it is related to other aspects, but mainly it is coming from the intellect. In the plane of polarities, you can remain with any one state for some time or even days, but sooner or later you have to come down. So it is definitely an experience and also involves time. This will become memory and ask for recurrence or continuity. All the events of duality are cyclic. Pain is followed by pleasure. Of course, there is a dwell time and no experience time, but there definitely will be a cycle. All these events are covered in experience. Whether there is a pain or there is a pleasure, all are covered in experience. Obviously, there is always division and fear. Means no sustained security in it. Also, as J.K. said, there is no thing in life which is permanent. Life is also, in a way, a relationship in which we require security and permanence, and which extends to or become attachment. So this also brings conflict. If one perceives the fact, as J.K. says and Harshad sir repeated, of this, then that perception burns this demand for security. Because security is at the base of everything. Or if there is no demand of security, permanency, attachment, etc., psychologically, then JK has asked, is it possible a new awakening in the sense of love? This is very interesting, in the sense of love. In my views, the exact answer of today's question lies in a different dimensions which manifests itself as intelligence. If a seeker reaches to this dimension, then he gets a different quality of energy which empowers him to tackle both polarities or duality in a different way altogether. So as to enable him not to lose the freedom. So whether he is in pain or whether he is in pleasure, he will not lose his freedom. And he will not be, his ego will not be converted immediately to that particular feeling or that emotions or any intellectual thing. We see that even saints, monks, etc., also suffer, but can differently. Is there any problem? Or there was voice somewhere? Anyway,
Your voice is breaking.
we see
somewhat.
that even saints, monks,
Your voice is somewhat breaking.
I think there is some echo on this thing. Anyway, is it breaking now? Is it clear?
Clear, yeah.
Hello?
Clear.
We see that even saints, monks, etc., also suffer by disease, but they can deal with it differently. The intensity of suffering doesn't matter to them like a common man. Here it is very interesting that today JK has tackled this question in a different way altogether. But as well he has said many times that absence of noise is not noise, is not silence. Means it is very clear the entity which is experiencing both noise as well as silence, that entity has to be seen or it is to be addressed. And that entity is very important. One side we say that we cannot invite that dimension, and we can see only with clarity a tree without any naming it or terming it. But and other side that dimension, as and when it feels, it will come to us or give us experience. So we say this, but my views are, if we focus on that entity which is working behind this, then the ego can sense that that energy, and the things will be different altogether. And this question will not arise at all, that how to tackle or how to sustain this state of well-being and how to avoid pain and all that. Such questions will never arise. Thank you. I want to submit this much only right now.
Harshad sir, do you want to comment?
No, let other people speak. Pradeep ji may like to say something, or Prasad ji would like to say something. Nobody wants to speak?
Okay, I will.
Okay, good.
Uh, of course, everything is pretty clear. The message is very clear. Even Harshad ji has whatever he has virtually told everything. The easier way of getting to the point is, if I refer to myself in my daily life, if I want to understand all my problems through JK or through Nisargadatta or through Buddha, I will always be standing somewhere in the background, always behind something which I have not understood, and there is hardly any chance to understand that clarity with which he might be taught. I'm using might be taught. So the best thing is to see what greed and desire does to me, even in mundane things, ordinary things, the food I like, the breakfast I like, the movements I like, dialogues I like, everything we like. We live a very comfortable, different way of living. So what desire does to me, and whether my learning is going simultaneously with that or not, which desire creates how much burning in me. I will recall that first sermon of Buddha, not through him, but if all of us can that is the famous fire sermon of Buddha, the first sermon he gave. So when I desire something, the intensity of that desire, how much burning it creates, and what it does to my brain or mind, whatever you can use the word. This will tell you everything. And if you are learning simultaneously in your life every day, you will be in order very fast. So desire is, since Buddha's time or before that also, what desire does, Trishna or Tanha, they talked about different words they have used. So this is not difficult. This is not difficult. We don't have to recall even what somebody said in which century about desire. We desire things daily, on daily basis. And what it does to me is pretty clear. It should be very clear. We are all educated people and grown up, and almost all of us are senior citizens. Another question, simple question comes to my mind. We always talk of psychological time and biological time and chronological time. Whether psychological time is entirely different from biological time. You see, brain needs continuity, and whether you like it or not, it does. It achieves continuity, brain, and which is a material thing. Even your thoughts are material, they say. So its relationship with desires, in what form they come in me, and where the psychology, how it is affecting, for me, matter, the whole body, which is matter, grossly speaking, most of the people talk like this, as if it is pure matter. So every cell of ours, every part of ours, there is associated neurons. The brain is extended throughout our body. It is there in all the cells. Even heart is full of neurons and nerve cells, thousands of nerve cells. So when we divide things, we make our journey difficult. This is what I feel, by simply talking this as if it is distinctly different from that. No. And then simultaneously we talk holism, we talk of whole, and we keep dividing and trying to understand, and then ultimately whole, and ultimately we come back to love. Love. So if love is there, we all know when love is there. There is hardly, you don't feel like questioning a person or a thing which you love. This is maybe a gross form of love, but you don't question. You have no conflicts. So that is understandable. If you are a loving person, you will have least conflicts. Once Harshad, today's note was there, if you are not expecting anything and you are only loving and giving, with this, of course, to talk in the form of words is always difficult. But it is so easy for us to understand our insistence on continuity of body and the intensity of that desire in me, my body, as if it is not my mind. You see, for me, absolutely it is closely associated with that. And that's why at that scientific level, they may say the cognizance, a few seconds later, you get cognizance or something. The things have happened already. You are cognizing those things little later. So whether you are doing it or you are just receiving the message, which is already the work has happened. So these are certain questions that are still in me. I am working myself daily. I think about these things. Then we'll say thinking is not the problem. Thinking is the problem. Through thought, you can never reach there. So you go on creating our own, you see, problems, recalling someone's statement somewhere. So that's why this keeps us in a very confused state. And we go on recalling different people, different saints, different seers, but ultimately, if I'm reading my book properly every day, even now, why I'm talking like this, to whom I am talking, what effect it may have, my intentions of all those things that should be very clear to me. Thank you, friends. This is all what I wanted to say. My book, we all have to read our books.
Yeah.
Sir, namaste. This is a question. Sir, can I proceed?
Yeah,
Please.
yes.
Sir, this is a question where somebody who is a seeker, he finds a clarity for certain period, but it is not sustained. That is the problem for him. And he says, how can I have a sustained clarity, a sense of wholeness of life, and peace of mind and things like that? How can I have them on a sustained basis without interruption and all that? Basically, it is also a kind of greed for continued clarity and all that. Krishnamurti has said at various times, absence of attention, attention to inattention is attention. So he says, you can have your periods of attention, and when you find yourself being inattentive, try to get back without worrying too much about it. So that is generally, what I understand about the drift of K. That is the direction in which he goes. Here in this video, funnily, he has not answered the question directly. He referred it to, the question is about clarity. He refers it to our relationships. What happens in our relationships? Is there any security in our relationship? Is there any permanency in our relationships? And your demand for a permanent relationship leads to attachment. And attachment has its own problems. It creates a jealousy, it creates a possessiveness and all those things. Conflict. So, our demand for permanency in relationships creates all these problems. And when you do not have that sense of attachment, when you are not caught in that attachment, that net of attachments, possibly you can touch love. And when there is love, there are no problems. It is a different dimension from attachment. So, he is not answering directly. Indirectly, he is bringing this factor into consideration. That is question of security in relationships. And to my understanding, he is applying it to that question as an answer to that question. Just as you cannot demand security in relationships, you cannot demand for a permanent clarity or permanent sense of wholeness. So indirectly he is answering. Mostly answers directly, but in this video, I think it is a special feature. He is bringing the analogy of relationships to answer the question raised by the questioner. Just as you cannot have a permanent relationship and you cannot, and that demand for permanent relationship leads to simply attachment and all with all its problems. Like that, this demand for a permanent sense of clarity also creates problems. We need not get lost in that demand because ultimately it is also a type of desire. And a desire is a time process. And somewhere he says recently, you cannot seek the timeless with the baggage of time. So if you want to seek the timeless, you have to get out of these demands. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dinesh ji.
Are
Dinesh
you able to
Waghmare.
hear me? Are you able
Yes,
to
we are
hear
able
me?
to hear. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
It is very interesting that we are discussing the problems on intellectual level. Suppose you are having any experience of that kind which the questioner was mentioning. And if you are aware, then you will see what is happening in your body, what is happening in your mind, what is happening to your senses, and what is your state of mind. people are saying that brain will register. Brain is a hardware basically. And all the information it registered based on the inputs given by the mind. So we are asking an intellectual question for an event which is a holistic or total, and we are not aware of that. There are two aspects basically in any experience. One is worldly aspect. Worldly aspect means something has been given to you, or an input is there, or an stimulus is there, etc. Another thing, who says that this is okay or this is not okay? This is a good experience or this is a bad experience? Who says? Is it ego says that? Is it in the ego's control? That we have to check up. Suppose I eat some banana or say anything, fruit. So whether it was okay or whether it was properly it was a good fruit or not, who says it? The message I got is from the inside. It is not from outside, and it is not in the hand of ego. So basically, are we aware of that input which is we are getting from the inside? We have to be very clear. Such inputs we get from all the dimensions, right from your body to your senses, from your senses, from your mind, and leave that dimension aside. But are we open to it? We have not understood this thing, that we are getting messages from both sides. From one side, whosoever the messenger is there or whosoever is giving us the message is not known to us, or it is in unknown. And we are not, since we are not considering that, or we are in ignorance or whatever you can say, we are don't have the knowledge of that, whatever you can say. Because of that, we are asking of an experience, of an event which is beyond intellect, and we are asking an intellectual question: can we sustain it? So this is to be seen basically. And people say that there will be no problem if there will be love and all that. Is it possible? Well, once we have discussed all these things, still we are saying that there will be no problems till we get the love. World will be like this only. It will be having all the, it is a world is a polar world. It is a non-duality world, and all the things will be there. Only the status of ego will be changing. Not the, see, right now, the movement of ego, what as indicated by the Krishnamurti, it is in the horizontal plane. But so that's why it is asking the questions. But if the status of ego itself changes, it goes into the vertical direction, then what happens? Of it touches that dimension, then what happens? Something different will be, different thing will be there. That we have to understand. Thank you, sir.
Ghouse Pasha ji.
Good evening, sir. Sir, is my voice clear?
Yes, voice is coming clear.
Okay, sir. Good evening, everybody. I am at a stage in my life where I am expected to get a job and settle in life. There is this constant expectation from my dream job and get settled, be secure. But it has not been very easy for me to settle down. This background has been creating a lot of anxiety, uncertainty, insecurity, excessive worry about my future, fear of suffering in me. Yet sometimes, very randomly, it happens when I see leaves falling in autumn, or when I experience a cool breeze flowing around me, or when I am witnessing a beautiful nature. I feel completely free of my anxiety, uncertainty, and insecurity. I remember feeling this vitality in me. But this moment lasts only for a few minutes or so. Again, I get back into my old habit of excessive worrying about my future, and I become anxious. To escape from this pain, I pursue pleasure of eating junk food, watching YouTube endlessly for hours. This happens for 3 or 4 days. Then I feel the ugliness of this disorder, and I try to bring some order by following some routine, cleaning my room, getting some work done, getting some exercise. I try to bring some order. But this order stays only for few days, and then again I get back into my old state. This vicious cycle repeats. In between these cycles, I find these brief moments of vitality and strength. And apparently, as of now, it seems that I can't do anything about this vicious cycle, and also I can't do anything about those brief moments of vitality. That's all I would like to submit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harshad, sir.
Yeah, may I speak? Okay. Gautam Buddha had gone through many experiences when he was learning about meditation with some gurus. And these gurus were very happy that Buddha had gone through many beautiful experiences, but Buddha himself felt that something was lacking. And then he left these gurus and he started meditating with his 5 friends, tried to do many austerities. It did not help. Then he left his friends. And then when he was alone meditating under a tree, some dreams started coming about freedom. And then he saw something within his own body, the life of every whole humanity, everything what is in the universe, he saw within himself, and maybe some kind of transformation happened in his body and the brain. And then when he opened his eyes one day, he looked at the morning star and it looked so beautiful, as if he was seeing it for the first time. And then it was something permanent, kind of change, which had happened. He knew that something new happened, and only then he started talking with children, talking with his old friends, talking with many, many people, and everybody were listening because he was speaking about what he felt, how it was not theoretical knowledge which he was talking from the scriptures, but he was talking about his own life, his own insight, like the way Krishna ji was doing, talking about his own life. And that is what probably important, what I'm trying to say, that as long as some permanent change has not happened in our brain, quality of the brain, what Krishna ji called mutation of the brain cells, then this beautiful experience can come and go. And some people take drugs and then see something beautiful, but it doesn't help in the daily life of relationship. Only when there is some real change happens in the quality of the brain, then one doesn't ask question to other people. But if the question arises, one can look at the question, and that looking is very important, how we look at our own question. Because if the question is very, very important, our brain mind stops, and then we really begin to see everything what is happening. And that seeing is again a kind of a freedom. So as long as that freedom to look at our own self very, very clearly, it has not happened, there will be many questions, asking questions to other people and trying to understand, but by answers given by other people, they will not satisfy us because we have to find out for our own, by our own self, by looking clearly. And that looking clearly, it itself requires freedom to look. So this is the problem why many people are asking questions to Krishnaji. As Dineshji said, it is an intellectual question about some mystical state. It doesn't work. So intellectual questions can help in understanding intellectually cause and effect. But real understanding comes when something new happens in your own brain, in your body, and you feel a kind of a newness, a freshness comes in the daily life of relationship. Okay, I finished. Thank you. Thank you.
Dinesh Waghmare.
I would like to address the things which Mr. Ghosh Pasha has said. This has happened, whatever you are facing now, it has happened with me also. In our earlier days of service, when I was in service, there was no issue. There was no job insecurity problem. In the last days only I faced such problems. But the reason was because time is changing and they are giving you a very good package. So these are the challenges of the today's time. So one has to really means learn new techniques and new things to address this problem. And earlier we talk of Buddha and all that. In those days also the challenges were there, but they were of the different type. All the time challenges were there. And in the time of Shivaji or this thing, there was a threat of the physical body threat. Anybody can what we can say, this any people can come and stab you in and or take your life by sword and all that. So the problems were different, but definitely those problems were there and they have addressed those problems. So one has to address. Also, I would like to say one thing, that nowadays what happened, see, suppose one is in isolation, then we are not going in company. When we are in companies with our relatives, our friends and all that, then definitely this energy problem is sorted out because we share our energy in discussing our problems with the others. And also there is one thing, if we visit suppose a hospital or some such place where the people are suffering, we can see them in a positive way, that what is their situation and what is my situation. Right now my whole problem has taken the whole life of me, or it is taking the whole life of me and whole vitality of me rather. But if I visit hospitals and all that, then I can realize what is the real life. And as JK says, you see the fact of it. If you see the fact of life, then there is definitely some change. Thank you.
Prasad sir.
Sir, I also wanted to react to Mr. Pasha. He's I mean, he's telling of his plight. And that is what every young man goes through, because that is the stage when you are getting settled in life. Whereas we oldies, we have no such problems. We can attend completely to K, because we have no financial problems or problems of employment and things like that. But young people have these problems, they cannot escape them. And but he himself has realized that he was resorting to certain things like going to cinemas or going to restaurants and things like that as a way, as an escape from this sense of anxiety. created by problems, financial problems, and all those other problems. But he realized that they are not giving permanent solution. They are not really a solution to the problem. That the disorder, they are increasing the disorder. You are in disorder, and by resorting to these escapes, which are really escapes, Krishnamurti would say even religion is an escape. So, these instead of resorting to these escapes, the very realization that such escapes won't create problems, won't solve the problems, that realization itself is very valuable. And let it sink into you, that is all. And when you realize that they don't really solve the problem, try not to escape and see the fact of your anxiety, the fact of your worry, and live with the fact. Ultimately, Krishnaji would say, live with what is. That will create you, that will solve the problem in course of time. At least it won't further complicate the problem. If you go in search of escapes, where even religion is an escape, search for God itself is an escape. That is what somewhere he says. And in that situation, just live with the fact. And it is good that Mr. Pasha is very honestly describing his situation. That I think I want to compliment him on that, on his honesty.
Sir, we have reached our time limit.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I stop.
Harshad sir, if
Last
you want to
point,
comment.
yeah, last point I would like to say something. Please allow me.
Yes, be brief, sir.
Yeah. See, JK says at many places that religion and this thing are escapes, right? And we also accept it blindly, or we also say that it is okay. Then why should I visit woods? Why should I go in woods? Why should I see the bird also? That is also an escape. But one thing we have to understand, although superficially these things are escapes, but actually one should question why I am doing this. If we go deep, then he will definitely understand that why I should feel better when I go to a temple. Why I should feel, why should I get a deep feeling in any ritual. So he has to understand all these things and he has to go into deep if the problem is severe. Thank you.
Harshad sir, any brief comment from you?
Yes, sometimes even when we know our problems, there is no freedom from the problems. Like people who are addicted to smoking or drinking, they know that it is not good to smoke or to drink, but they can't help. So it depends on how sincere a person is to be free, whether it is problem of addiction to smoking and drinking or attachment to some human being or attachment to power or money or position, fame, all that. So ultimately it depends, are we really interested in being free from all the problems and really look? And if there are problems come, we can see even the beginning of a problem. So it requires an ongoing, effortless awareness to see things clearly. And that is what Krishnaji was talking about, effortless awareness. That is what freedom is. Okay, thank you. I have nothing more to say.
Thanks all
Thank
for
you.
participating,
Thank you,
and a good thing has come about clarity. It must have given clarity to everybody. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.